you find adventure at the click of a button, or from the turn of a page, or the casting of a die? Join your hosts, Conniff and Shiloh, on an unforgettable journey. Questing the Multiverse.
This thing on? I had to blow off the dust on this microphone because, in a way, we're back.
In a very peculiar sort of way. Yes.
Yeah. A roundabout, like a British roundabout sort of way.
Apparently Americans have hard times with roundabouts, and Europeans love to make fun of us for that.
You should see Washington, D.C. if you...
There's several roundabouts in my neighborhood. I navigate one pretty much every day.
Yeah, as I say, like,
without
how hard
issue.
is it, you know? Now, I have seen people drive the wrong way in them when they first get implemented.
Oh.
But those are just not great drivers, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's called stupidity.
Yeah, but yes, we are back in a roundabout sort of way. We traded Rippy for an older and wiser version of him.
I don't know about wiser, but I'll take older.
Charlie, you don't give yourself enough credit. You're pretty wise. Nope, I got a kid crying.
I'm wearing an owl on my hat. That helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
The wise owl. Well, Jordan, what are we doing here? This is definitely a departure from the usual questing the multiverse.
So, kind of in the theme of questing the multiverse, it's almost like an interdimensional rift was opened up, and we have entered the No Cube Zone, which is a
copyright music withheld.
Yeah,
I know.
I was gonna hum it.
As much as we wanted it, we can't play the old theme songs because guess what? Those were copywritten.
Yeah. And when you're a low-time podcaster and you don't care, things are different.
Back in the glory days of 2019 and 2020, there wasn't this thing called AI. And now, like, Google has, like, AI, and anytime you upload anything to Google or Apple or Spotify, they've all got these AI things that are like, hey, I can analyze this instantly and match it to copyrights and then notify the rights holders. That's pretty much how that happens now. So we can't get away with it as much as we want to. But
I have a topic on this topic for both of you. This would be kind of like a flash topic if there was such a thing. This is Jordan. So before I get into that topic, if you are not new to Questing the Multiverse, we are introducing board game centric episodes because board games are a very big part of nerddom. Nerd hobby stuff, tabletop RPGs, board games, video games, books, puzzles, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
There's all this sort of like analog versus digital stuff. And so these episodes, when Jordan is here, are going to be board game centric, and he is largely going to lead the discussion. But in the true Conniff fashion, I'm going to hijack that for a moment to ask you this question, both Jordan and Shiloh. Shiloh maybe from the video game perspective and Jordan from the board game. I got to thinking about this because this wasn't, as you mentioned, 2019, 2020, AI was not where it is now, right? And so in the board game realm, we would go onto Kickstarter, you would see something cool, and you knew that they had hired an artist to do that art. There was a designer, publisher, kind of the key ingredients for board games, a designer, who's publishing it, so you can tell how much extra fluff they're going to put into the production to make the price go up, and then who the artist was. In the video game realm, we just care about good video games, but for the most part, like developer, publisher, that sort of thing. But now with AI that has kind of ramped up to where it's getting really hard to tell, AI from non-AI art when a lot of time has been put into the AI modeling and stuff. Do you two care if the art for your board game or your video game is AI generative, or would you prefer it to be a real human artist? Go.
Do I have to flick the spring on my to make that noise like you did?
You know, yes.
Is that how I like buzz in to speak?
Conch, yes.
I mean, just given I don't know, the progress of a year, I think even my thoughts have changed on this just from what I've seen from AI. Because like last year, there was like that thing of like the AI generated commercial with like the Pizza Hug spot, and like everything was like totally jacked up. Like It was very noticeably AI. And then about a week ago, I saw a thing of like this thing that looked like it was like drone shots and like landscapes and all this stuff. And it was like, this is like the newer version, like AI's upgraded itself over the last year, and it looked real.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone from last year where I'm like, I don't need to worry about this, till now where it's like, oh, this is now possible. And it's not like these like distorted like humans with like 3 hands coming out of their chin and like just like laughably wacky stuff.
The southern people of Missouri, we know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an everyday occurrence for you guys, but everywhere else, yeah, we don't have people that look like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think I'm a fan of like AI generated art and stuff like that. And I feel like it's not a matter of if, but when like a full game is designed by AI. Like, no human touches the design, and it's just all AI rules. Like the AI has.
You think that'll happen board game first or video game first?
I mean, I can see the potential for both. Probably video game, just because I feel like there's a larger market of people that are interested in that.
That's fair.
You know, board games are still a bit more of a niche hobby, whereas, you know, there are millions upon millions of people who own an Xbox, a PlayStation, or a Switch.
That's right. Yeah. That's fair. Shiloh, what about you?
Oh, hold on. I got a gong out.
You got
Gong.
Maybe we do need like a mini gong, you know, just to play on stream.
Just hit my reverb spring on my microphone.
That's it. Yes.
I think it'll happen first, not in video games or board games. I know this wasn't your question, but I'm spitballing here.
That's
I think it'll happen in music first.
Like full-fledged albums that were computer
If
generated.
you think about it, most trance and house and that sort of medium is pretty much that anyway.
Yeah.
And people that listen to, you know, bass and house and trance music are not really going to care if it's AI generated or some random DJ artist that, you know, no one's ever heard of, that is just mixing stuff on an Apple, you know, computer anyway. So, but I think, you know, I worry. I don't care if it's AI generated art in a video game. I do care if it's actual analog art that is AI versus, you know, if it's conceptual art, if it's art that's done as almost a background or an accessory piece or that sort of thing, I don't care as much. But if it's out in the forefront, that's where I'm like, I don't know, something feels off about this.
Yes.
For an AI generated video game, if it were all AI generated, I probably really would be very hesitant to play it, even though we get game upon game of sometimes garbage that is released by human beings that,
That's fair.
you know, maybe AI would make a better game, but for the most part, I think it would just feel soulless.
Yeah.
And not your friend soulless, but like soulless. And I don't think I would want any part of that, especially if it were an RPG or an MMO or something that needed to tell a story. Those sorts of games. Like a Dontnod game with AI, no, thank you. The story, like Life is Strange, would just be terrible. So, yeah, as a whole, I don't really care. I think it has its place, and I think it can work in, even in board game fashion, where you have AI generated art for the actual, if it's a tile game, you have the actual tiles that were generated by an AI art, stuff like that. Like 3D printing and stuff is a big thing I know in the board game industry. I actually had a guy from Etsy ask me if I was familiar with 3D printing, if I had one. I'm like, no, it's not exactly in my wheelhouse, but stuff is cool. I mean, I've seen it done, and it's really impressive, but really, really great for miniatures and, meeples and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I would want to play a game that was predominantly AI generated. So
yes. So I think it exists now in like this weird uncanny valley where like when a game is using AI art, you can kind of have this like suspicion, right? So I don't know. I haven't been too involved in like any recent board game Kickstarters. In fact, I just got the RuneScape board game Kickstarter that I backed in like 2021 and, got it like this week. But a video game that I played was called Secrets of the Darkwood. It was free on Steam, and it was basically a text-based adventure with like an art scene on the side. So the right side or the left side was art of what is depicted in the scene, and then the text, and then your options, your combat or whatever you want to do. And pretty quickly into that game, I was like, I think this is like AI art. Now the people looked fine. There wasn't any weird like deformed hands or anything like that. But it was just that like sensation of this just feels like it's not quite what the text is describing, but it was close enough. And so in this specific instance, it felt a little, like you said, soulless, because it was like, this is like trying to be what is actually happening, but my imagination is doing it way better. And it's like a real artist would have taken the prompt and covered all the bases, right? Like, okay, we're in this dungeon. This dungeon is describing this long table with like, centuries old candles snuffed out, covered in cobwebs, all this stuff. AI is going to get part of those, details right, but then not the others. And so it's more like just, this is like concept art for what this is. So that's the kind of the feeling I had. And I wonder how long it will be before like board games, and Kickstarter might be the big piece to this, because Kickstarter is a method for developers and publishers to, basically print on demand their game without having to set up contractual obligations with distribution, publishers, all this stuff. And AI art would be another way to cut cost in theory. So I don't know, but I know that like right now, if someone were to tell me like, oh, all of Everdell art was AI generated, I would probably think less of Everdell if that were the case. And it's not.
Into the trash can.
Well, no, because that's throwing like $300 out of the trash can.
Okay, I see. So your principles lie somewhere between $0 and $300.
And that's a big box. It wouldn't fit in the trash can anyway. Come on, Jordan.
I've got a big trash can.
Just take it to a dumpster. Like the
one out, the little one where the robot arm comes by on the garbage truck and picks it up and like dumps it in, and then like
that it would need the whole arm for just Everdell.
My Everdell box would fit in that trash can.
That's fair.
So I see your price. You can be bought.
Yeah.
Your morals can be bought somewhere for under $300 is where the line's at, people.
But I wouldn't be happy about it.
I did put in a link in the Discord chat for some AI generated commercials
Okay, I'll have to watch
that look
those.
just horrendous.
We'll have to put those in Discord for once the episode drops too. So any other thoughts on this before, Jordan, you just take it away and begrudgingly take me to the cube zone? I mean, it's the no cube zone, but we all know where this is going.
Oh yeah.
You have any other thoughts?
You surrendered all full control of the no cube zone to me, and cubes run rampant.
I did. Sadly, no.
I gotta find my cube. Remember that cube I got? Someone
You
sent
did.
me.
It was a straight up cube.
It's just a straight up cube take an action figure.
Yeah.
I gotta find that for these episodes. I gotta have it on my desk.
Yeah, these because these
Did you ever
episodes
see
are
it,
live.
Shiloh?
That was never a thing with the old
It
no
was just
cube
like
zone.
a giant like black cube. It came with some like little items that you could like the different. Oh man, I gotta see if I can find the link for those guys. I wonder if they're still making those.
No idea. But it is. You can buy a cube action figure, listener. That's what you should take away from this. Literally a plastic cube. What is a Rubik's Cube in the... So we've decided once upon a time that dice are cubes with souls. What would a Rubik's Cube be in that capacity?
Oh, they still exist.
See, he can't answer the question. He's
Top shelf
thinking...
fun. Top shelf fun.
He's thinking too
I had the fantasy cube.
black and white, like a true cube Euro player. Disappointed. I like that you're still on about this cube thing.
I love that cube. I forgot about it until we started talking about cubes, and I
You need to go
remembered.
find it.
I've put him away. He's living a sad life and in the dungeon since he's the fantasy cube. Is living in the dungeon right now. I got to go rescue him from the dungeon. So I have to go on a quest to rescue him from the dungeon. See, I made it.
It's all content.
Something about Rubik's cubes. What?
Yes, this is typical Euro. They just only think in the binary. If a dice is a cube with a soul, and Shiloh, this has been a long-standing, I would say feud, but there's not much feud to it. Cubes, Euro games. If you are a video gamer and you're not too familiar with board games and you're listening to this, there are in many ways two camps when it comes to board games. This is your board game history lesson. Board game 101. There is the Euro, and then there is the Ameritrash. And
Trash in the name tells you everything you need to know.
it was coined by Eurogamer, so of course. The point here is, and these two sides can be distilled down into the following. Euro is a game focused on scoring points, and Ameritrash is a game focused on some thematic goal. Now, someone out there, probably from Omaha, Nebraska, is like clutching at their earbuds or headphones, about to just throw them off their head because I have distilled such a grandiose and long ran debate down to those two concepts. But this is where we're at.
My understanding is not that the other isn't taken into consideration, but a Euro game is designed with mechanics first in mind, like what you're actually doing in the game. Whereas an Ameritrash game is designed with the theme first in mind, and then what you're doing in the game is built around the theme. That's the best way that I've ever heard it explained, is like I've heard of Euro games where like in playtesting the theme was something completely different, but it doesn't really matter because you can just kind of slap a different theme on a Euro game and it still works because it's more of like what you're actually doing within the game. The mechanics or the mechanisms of the game are what is really important. Whereas if you did that with an Ameritrash game, you ruin the whole thing, because if it was supposed to be like a Battlestar Galactica knock-off kind of game, if then all you suddenly made that about like pirates, it doesn't work.
Yes,
Because
Shiloh.
it's like, why are there Cylons with my with Blackbeard? I don't get it.
So to put this, I think to put this into video game terms, and I think this is a fascinating concept because this doesn't exist in video games that I can think of. Video games are distilled so much into genre more than like this classification of the focus of the game. But it would be like, let's take Helldivers 2, which you haven't played, but you're at least aware of what it is. If you were to, that game as it is would be considered Ameritrash. If you were to take that game and turn it into a war management game where you're managing like fleets over into this sector, fleets over here, and you're trying to like allocate enough troops over here to fight the bugs, and then over here the automatons and all this stuff, and then you've got to build better better ships with increasing resource stuff. That would be the Euro version of this, and I suppose I just kind of explained this to you, so you can scold me later.
I don't like the way that you're basically making it like, hey, a Euro game's basically like Sid Meier's Civilization, and then Ameritrash games, which are the fun ones, are like Baldur's Gate, and
you're not wrong on that part. Needless to say,
but that's how like you're building in your own bias into
that's
your
true.
explanation.
That's true, as we all do.
I feel like I did a pretty good job trying to be impartial with my explanation of them.
You did. I will give you that. Things have evolved since the original No Cube Zone days. I will admit when you have done a good job, and you have. So
we'll see how long this lasts.
Yes. All right, enough of that nonsense. What have you got for us, Jordan? This is the resurrection of the No Cube Zone.
It is. It's exciting. I mean, anymore, I feel like I feel like we'd have to like shuffle Shiloh basically into my seat, because I feel like I'm slowly becoming Stephen Rippey.
Trying to keep the peace.
No, I'm not trying to keep the peace, but like outside of podcasting and things, like much like him, yes. I have a video business that is taking up more and more of my time, so I don't have as much time for board games.
Yep.
As I once did, but we still get some games played around the house, a lot more with my kids who are a little older. So we're getting into some fun things, and I'll talk more about that on future episodes, because the games that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about tonight, and give the old-fashioned No Cube Zone rating to, and I know you guys probably can't because you didn't play them, but I'll go ahead and do it anyways after I've told you about them. There are two games by Dr. Reiner Knizia, and they are My City and My Island. Have you guys heard of these games at all?
Nope. Your City and Your Island.
Correct.
So they're called Your City and Your Island.
Well, let's abbreviate. Let's leave some confusion here.
Dang it, I was going to make a long-winded dumb joke when he said My City. I have seen the cover.
Okay.
But
so
I have
My
not
City.
played it.
So this is the first one that came out. Looks like in the copyright on the back of the box is 2020. So,
and if you're only listening to this episode,
nothing else really important happened that year, but this game coming out. Nothing else of note in that year nothing that comes to mind. You guys, anything that comes to mind for 2020?
No. If you're listening to this episode instead of watching it on YouTube, Jordan does have props and show and tell.
Got a copy of the game in my hand for the audio listeners. Shout out to my audio listening friends, because that's still how I listen to podcasts, is audio.
That's me too, I'll admit.
Yeah. So My City, it is and let's go into the box.
You said 2020?
2020 is when I have the copyright on it.
Was it hot in 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. What was that was when No Cube Zone was actually first launched. And it completely bypassed our radars, I suppose.
It did. It skirted around us. So when you open up the game, you will have 4 boards that'll look something like this. This is one of the unplayed ones. This is like a legacy style game. So this is the unspoilerific portion of what I'm showing you. We don't necessarily have, we can throw in a spoiler warning at some point if we want to. We don't have to.
It kind of looks like what you might have for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign as like a basic map, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could do double duty, I'm sure, if you wanted to have like a basic net map for your Dungeons and Dragons site, because it's got all the little grids.
Who needs the actual game? I just want the map tiles.
You just get the map. Yeah, D&D players, if you want to go pick up some maps or some basic stuff. I guess these are your tickets.
There's not at all a better option out there somewhere, I'm sure.
No, certainly this is the only option. You do get some cubes. Lots of cubes in this one.
That's too many. That was 4 cubes, by the way, listener, in the bag. So lots of cubes is 4, apparently, which is a good amount of cubes for me personally. And I can't really handle
more cubes than Connor can handle.
No, that 4 I can handle. It's anymore.
And then everyone gets a set of these like polyomino tiles, different shapes. There are 3 different colors. There's red. There are also red. Trying not to blue.
Some more red.
And guess the 3rd color, just for fun.
Blood
red, blue, and
Yellow.
hey, yellow.
You're right. And those are all the primary colors, right? So
yeah.
Yellow's a primary color.
As far as
color,
pigment
right?
is concerned.
My son knows these better than I do.
Purple.
The primary colors in light are actually red, blue, and green.
And why is that? Why does green take over yellow?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but do you remember like the old school tube TVs?
Oh yeah, the lines.
Like, the little diodes were what colors? Red, blue, and
Yellow. I mean green.
no, green.
Cyan.
Thank you.
Cyan. No, that's print actually. So CMYK is the print format for
Yeah.
colors, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and
All right.
I
Now
think
that
K's
my board
black
game
or
talk
something.
has been hijacked by colors,
You started
let's
it.
take it back.
No surprise there. You always start everything. So
I started nothing. Okay, so the game would be played by everyone has a certain number of those tiles. Then there are these cards, which you then flip up. Oops, that's so then it's like, hey, everyone has to play the yellow U-shaped building somewhere on their board.
okay.
And so the basic game is you're just doing that. You're just flipping up cards, placing. They're all all yellow on the top of the deck. There's a red one. Just placing it like as they come up. The buildings have to be placed adjacent to each other, so you have to like build off of
Okay.
your network, and then there are different ways that you score points. That changes throughout the game. That's one of the fun legacy things. So there are 24 games in the campaign.
Oh, okay.
And then when you're done, you would go to this other side of the board, which is like the eternal version of the game. So if you just want to bust out and just like play the game, there's like a different set of rules, just as like the eternal rules. So it's just like you can just play.
Okay.
So a game of this takes about 30 minutes.
Oh, that's really good.
It's a super quick burn on a game. And then, so it's really like each, so the 24 like legacy whatevers are broken up into chapters. I think that's what they call them. So there are 8 like chapters with 3 games in each chapter.
Okay. Interesting. So this type of game, what you've described, and I've seen the cover, but I've never played it. I actually would play this. The last game, one of the last games I played in the Euro space was Alhambra, which is a very old game, very popular in its time, I guess. I'm not a big fan of Alhambra. It is not all that exciting, but this, which here I am drawing, dotted lines, is another game where you are placing tiles down to form cities and whatever. I like the style that this one's going for better than I do Alhambra. Alhambra, I'm just kind of like meh, and then somehow I got second place, and I was like, that's good enough for me.
What don't you like about Alhambra?
The art is so dull. The art might be worse than the original, that one game that I don't like, that has been purged from my brain, that now you will remind me of.
Castles of Burgundy?
That's the one.
No, it is not.
Alhambra? Yes, it is
No.
not great. Castles of Burgundy is better.
No.
I don't dislike Alhambra, but as far as like, I like maps. My city has a map. You put in these
Alhambra is
things.
like a tiling. That's like saying I don't like Carcassonne because it doesn't come with a map. You build the dang map while you play the game.
Yeah, but at least the art,
Alhambra.
at least the tiles
Ernie?
look cool in Carcassonne, but not Alhambra. I feel like we need to take a little pause. And Shiloh, do you want to regale the listener with the entire expanse
No, not a word.
of your extent? Well, that was close. Of your board
I was close
game.
in that you just made up a word.
It was, whatever. Of your board game, not history, but just experience. Because even though we joke that, like you're just not board gamer at all, one of the first things I learned about you is that you own Mice and Mystics, which is not just your average, like, I just saw this board game at Target, I'm gonna buy it. That's an actual hobby board game. So
Yeah.
you want to tell us of before Jordan jumps into his next game or continues My City, because I love derailing him when the cubes start coming on too strong. I'm just kidding, Jordan, but I do want to know, so Shiloh has some input on all this.
Yeah.
What's your kind of...
I don't know if I have an allegiance as far as no cube or cube, but I've used to buy and play a lot of board games. I didn't necessarily have a lot of friends. This was probably over, close to 10 years ago, when I actually had friends in a smaller, the town, but it's another offshoot of Nashville, just another rural area of
all towns near Nashville.
Yeah.
That.
just another different area that I used to live in, and had friends that used to come over and play. We also, that's when I ran D&D, and had a lot of tabletop interaction as a whole. About that time is when I actually went to PAX West in Seattle. So I was pretty involved and bought up a lot. I didn't have friends that actually were invested to the point where they actually went out and bought games, but I was kind of the fuel. I was the one that would buy the games, try to explain them to the best of my knowledge, and then either it was a success or not a success. So, but I had quite a number of. I mean, I didn't have a huge collection like you two or any of these guys with just bookshelves full of board games, but I had maybe at one time, probably at the peak, maybe like 15 or so board games. Most of them were themed, probably Ameritrash. I had a few.
You hear that, Jordan?
But those were the games that I knew that would probably go over the best. Yeah. I had like a Game of Thrones board game. That one was really complicated. I don't remember. We actually got. You have?
Oh yeah, I've played it.
I own
was.
It. Never
Who was
played
that? It was the Tyrells.
Yeah.
I own it. Never played it. It is actually the game I own. I've owned the longest that I've never played.
It is very complicated. I had a hard time wrapping my brain around that one.
It's not so bad.
Not so bad.
If you have someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I didn't, so
It was him.
supposed to be that one.
That was
knew what he
Shiloh.
was doing. I was the Adam and the Eve of the board game.
Come to Omaha. I know several people who know how to play it. We can,
All right.
we can crack it out.
But one of the games that I've really loved that it was a D&D themed game. It was Lords of Waterdeep. And I don't know where that falls into.
Euro.
That's
cubes.
Euro.
Cubes.
Do you like that
abound.
game, Jordan? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a fun game. And that was,
because it's a Euro.
yeah, it was themed, but it was a Euro. So I don't know where that falls into place. But so probably somewhere right down the middle is where I love both my children, kind of that sort of thing. But yeah, I really got into that because it was a fun diversion when we weren't running D&D. And sometimes if I didn't have time for the campaign, because I was the only dungeon master in our group of friends, and it was a lot of investment to kind of keep the campaign going. So sometimes, if we had a game, and we tried to meet once a week or once every other week if things got busy, but it was a fun diversion to say, hey, we're not going to do D&D but I'll pull this board game down and we'll play board game and listen to some music or whatever. And so I had a good collection. I had the Murder Baldur's Gate. Some of them were very D&D themed, so it was kind of, if we weren't going to play D&D, it was, I have Ravenloft. I have a number of different little I can't remember what they're called, but they were something that Wizards released that was kind of more of a one-off with miniatures and.
Oh yeah.
I'll pull up a box or something, or I'll find a box and link it in Discord. But
do you still get together with those guys? Like, do you still do that?
No.
I was gonna say, because something I would suggest if you ever got to that, or for anyone who's in a situation like that, is Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gloomhaven is kind of like a dungeon diet, like in a box, but Jaws of the Lion does a really good job
box.
It's a giant box, but Jaws of the Lion does a really good job of teaching you the system through like the first 5 missions in the campaign, and then you're just playing. And I've heard you can actually port over your characters from Jaws of the Lion to normal Gloomhaven.
I think you would like Jaws of the Lion, Shiloh. It's basic. I mean, it's not in the Forgotten Realms or anything. Like, it's not, Dungeons and Dragons.
It's its own world.
But it plays, it is like that beginning campaign concept.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm looking up this game that you guys had mentioned. No, that's not the one. There was a game that was similar in name as Everdell that we had. It was a fairly co-op fantasy-based game, board game, that is, that I really liked. It had kind of leveling up things that you would do. It was similar to Everdell, but in the name, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But
the Dwellings of
That's too new.
Eldervale.
That's too new, isn't
it? I don't remember.
This is 10 years ago, though, right? So
yeah, or longer. Yeah, so I don't remember. But anyway, yeah. So that, and I guess you're trying to make me talk about the tables that I do as well. But
if you want.
Well, yeah. So when I went to PAX West, I saw there's a table making company called Le Cheek. I think it was the name of it. It was Geek Cheek.
Geek Chic.
Geek Chic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they made.
I think they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone now, and they kind of
some shady dealings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think
so. But they had a bunch of really nice tables, and before I think I would just pull out this kitchen table that I got at a like a church yard sale or something. That was my kitchen table for my actual kitchen, and I would pull that out into the kind of it was a very small apartment, but right in front of the couch, and just pulled chairs around, and that was game night. And so, I was trying to think of a way to have a more approachable game night, and eventually we settled. When I got back to Tennessee, I talked to my dad, who's been a woodworker for not a professional woodworker, but a very, very talented hobbyist, and had made like pretty much a lot of the furniture in my parents' house, and kind of talked to him about making me a gaming table. And so I still have the gaming table in my apartment. It's not exactly like the ones that we're making now, but that led me, that kind of was our game table for a long time. And, right now it just kind of functions as a table in my den in my apartment. But it led to eventually, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, kind of wanted to pick up woodworking with him. And after a number of different projects that we were kind of stumbling around to see what we could come up with, and eventually settled on a prototype for a gaming table that was a breakdown that we could ship, and we posted it on Etsy, and it took months before we sold our first one, and UPS broke the top of the first one, so we had to remake that and send the guy in Maryland a new top. But we sold our first table, and things have been picking up ever since. So we've sold, I think, about a total of 23, 24 tables since then, all across the country. So
that's great.
It's been a lot of fun. They're very the multi-purpose. You find that people buy them for a variety of reasons. Some are board game enthusiasts, some are RPG people, some are both. Some people don't care about games at all. Some people want them for puzzles. The last table that we sold looked like it was basically a huge Lego table for their two children, and also their main dining tables. So you just never know. So that's kind of why we were making them in the first place, just for kind of, this is a table with a removable top, and you can do whatever underneath it.
Do
and then
whatever
put the top
you
back on.
want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever
you can
like.
dissect insects on it if you so desire, I suppose.
Why would you do that?
Some people have weird hobbies, my guy.
Well,
you could store a bunch of shotguns underneath it. I don't know.
That probably does happen.
On that note,
Probably.
let's talk about some more games.
Yeah,
So the second game
Jordan
I
wants to
have
get back to the
is
cubes.
My Island.
Oh,
This is the sequel that just came out
to my city.
this past year.
Okay.
So I love, one of my favorite things about this is, let me just a second, let me get my city back out. I'll show it on the box for my city. It says, manifest your destiny. Very almost inspiring for what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And then I feel like they put out my city, and lots of people played it. So I feel like they learned something, because with My Island, they went with, your island will be unique. Hey, you're going to screw this up. It'll be different, though.
Yeah.
That is not at all in the same class of a sentence as manifest your destiny.
I know, right? Good luck, guys.
Okay. As a quick question, which of those two games do you prefer?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Calm down.
Okay.
But before I introed this game, I had a question, Conniff. Do you like apples?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's got a whole bag of cubes. So how do you like them apples?
Wow.
I should have actually moved my lips so the YouTube people will know that was all fake. And now the audio people will know. So this is behind the scenes with Conniff.
But
how long have you been sitting on that one? That's why you got Shiloh
off of it while we were sitting here.
Yeah, You're like, Shiloh, enough. I have this pun I need to lay into.
Yeah, before I forget it.
So this one is a little bit different. As you can see, it's obviously
It's a hex. It's
yeah,
Pathfinder now.
they're hex
I
tiles.
immediately like that less than the other one. Just on that look alone.
It's just because I showed you the cubes. If I hadn't showed you any cubes, you would be fine.
No.
right
It's
now.
not the cubes. It looks too much like Castles of Burgundy.
Okay. So this one is a little bit different as well because let me find some not spoilerific stuff here. Oh. This will work. All right, so everyone is going to have tiles that look like this, where you're going to have like these are like little farms, and that's like a fortification.
Okay.
Or this like these are roads, and that's like a village. And so as you're building, as you're placing these tiles out on the board, you have to be able to at some like as you lay these, like be able to connect like types somehow. Like the like types have to touch in some way.
Okay.
Could be like this would also work like house to a house. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of doing that. So yeah, but when you're playing something like it has to build, you have to build off of your thing, and you have to have like symbols match up with like symbols in some way.
Fair.
But anyways, again, it's another thing where it's a 24 episode campaign. Different things happen. There is like a little bit of like story to it going on there. So that's there if you're into that kind of thing, but it's not necessary. Like you don't have to pay attention to the story.
Okay.
I always read it. Both of these games are getting played. My city we've completed. We played the whole thing. My wife and I. That was kind of like we'd put the kids to bed and then we would play the game.
Okay.
And my island, we actually have one last game left in the campaign. But kind of the cool thing with both of them, I didn't really show this off in the last one, but they're going to have up along the top here these little dots. And so those, like, as whoever wins gets this like color in a certain number of those dots. And that's how you track who wins the overall game.
Those are dry erase boards then.
No, sir. Pen.
Oh, that's right, because it is a legacy. Well, what about the other side? The other side is the...
So the other side has no dots.
Oh,
the
okay.
eternal game.
That's
And it's the same in my city.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well,
But they're both really fun, in my opinion. Like to the point where we bought another copy of my city. So you can play them like two people, and then you could play because it comes with 4 boards. It's got all the stuff in there, and in my island it actually gives you some extra stickers and stuff and says at the end that like, hey, there's enough stuff in here for you to play it again if you're playing with just 2 people. But we bought another copy of my city, gave it to my wife's sister and her husband, and are now playing my city 4-player with them, like going through the campaign with them. So it's super fun. Like I said, they're super quick games. Like 30 minutes is about as long as you see one go.
even for 4-player?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Because it's the card gets flipped and everyone does something simultaneously. This is the same mechanism in my island where it's just a deck of cards that get shuffled up. You flip it out, and then it's just everyone has to play that. There are rules about like where you start, and then it evolves over the game as far as like where you can and can't place. There are different like objectives where you'll get penalized if you don't do something. There's all kinds of stuff in there that's like it makes each game has its own unique flavor, so it doesn't get boring. It kind of twists like, okay, I have to focus on this, but also I can't forget about these other things. Or then sometimes it's like, hey, you're done with this thing, move on to this other thing. And so you just kind of like are constantly like just tweaking your brain.
Okay.
It's just like a small tweak of how you play the game every time over the 24 times that you play it. But then
Interesting.
if you play the Eternal version, it's very much just like comfort food of like, I know this, and it doesn't outstay its welcome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 30 minutes. That'd be great. So Shiloh and I are actually going to be meeting up in, is it October, Shiloh?
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a video game get together with some people. And so I might look into one. I have contemplated like what board games should I bring to this, because these are video game people. But I might,
Kind of like you were going to come to Omaha last October.
was no like how you were going to come to Springfield,
Oh,
and then you did, and then you never
I
texted
did go to
me.
Springfield.
So yeah, let's talk about that one. No,
We'll be
this
back
is
again
this is
this
actually
fall.
going to happen. Well, what? Don't do it in October, because I'll be gone the one weekend, and that'll be the weekend you come. So
No, it won't. It'll be the week after Labor Day. Is that the one in?
oh yeah, then I'll be here. So don't forget
We'll
to
see.
text this time.
Well, okay, so that makes once that I've goofed and twice that you've goofed. So the
Yeah,
last 2 times I'd come,
that's fair.
you spent 14 hours getting brakes fixed, and then,
That was my fault. The second one was my wife's fault. So
well, you had a part to do with
I did,
that.
not during that time. It was a long time before that, 9 months, in fact.
Hey, guess what?
What?
I found the video game. I found the board game that I was trying to think of.
What is it?
So Legends of Andor.
That's
Have
an
you heard of
Ameritrash game. Yes, I have.
Yes.
I've
Very,
never
very good.
played it though, but I've
Hard.
heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's very good. Very fun.
Yeah, that's like a
hard,
map
though.
that you move around and stuff and do.
Yeah, and there's it varies, but there's also, from what I remember, you have to complete a series of events before a timeline expires, or the game's over and you lose.
Interesting. Do you still have all these games, or is that
No. This is when I used to drink, and I probably sold off almost all the board games that I used to have to a local game company for pennies on the dollar, so I could afford more booze. True sad story, but true nonetheless. So
Bummer. Well,
What I was gonna say is that I
go back-
should.
I bought a few back, but not
Yeah.
this one.
let's all
I-
talk at the same time.
I could maybe look in. Based on what you've shown me, Jordan, my city is the one that I think I would personally be interested more. You are shaking
No.
your head. Let me
Let me get into it.
Okay.
So I want to give my rating and my rationale.
Okay.
So if I on the patented no cube zone rating scale, this is gonna let me blow the dust off this
Yeah.
antique here too. So this is inspired by several other board game podcasts that use a similar rating scale, which is technically a 7-point scale, 0 to 6.
Not this again. No, I remember this.
Yes.
I'm okay
So-
with it now. You know.
Yeah, 0 to 6. 6 being a like contender for like one of your favorite games, and 0 being a literal piece of garbage. Like worse than like a soggy copy of Candyland.
Ugh.
Yeah. So that's the 0 to 6.
Okay.
So my city. Back out. My city, manifest your destiny.
Yes.
I would give this one probably a 4.
Interesting.
Like it quite a bit. It's not going anywhere. But like probably when I first played it, it was probably like 5, almost 6. Like when I first played it, I was like, this is amazing. Now that I've played my island,
Your island will be unique.
my island is unique. And my island, this one is probably the 5
Interesting.
and I would say my city is a 4 for me personally. I like the way that my island, like the puzzles work in my island as far as like what you're trying to accomplish, work better for my brain.
Okay.
Like so having played my city again, like we have one game left, so we have 23 of 24 done in my island. And we've played my city all the way through, and I think in our second go through of my city with my wife's sister and her husband, I think we have 3 left. So I've played my city a whole lot, but I remember like having the same experience of like the first couple games. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then like there's some games in the middle where I don't know if it's me, but I'm rating it, so it's my rating. Where both times the games in the middle, I am just like, I don't like, my brain just cannot process how to do what other people are doing. And like, I just got my teeth kicked in. I got it. Like when I played my wife, like just, and then the same thing happened when, with this group with my wife's sister and her husband, where I got dead last, like on probably the same ones, the same chapters, or the same episodes or whatever. But then there's a part where I came roaring back, which is, it's happening again, of like where the puzzle changes of like what you're trying to do in the games. And so I've come roaring back, and then we're to the part where the last couple games, like when I played with my wife, I had a pretty substantial lead on like the legacy portion of it. And then the last couple games, the puzzle changed again to where I wasn't so good, and I watched my lead slip through my fingers, and I lost the campaign. Not that winning and losing like is really important, but like there's a little bit of like, I tried my hardest, and it was just like, it was not like meant for me to win. Almost just like what it felt like a little bit.
Interesting. So,
and I don't feel that in my island, even though, like, all truth told, like, I don't feel that, but I feel like I am going to lose the campaign in my island too.
So what I'm hearing is your wife is just a savant when it comes to these games.
Yes, she's pretty good at these games. I mean, she's pretty good at board games. She wins more often than I do.
Yeah.
She's just, I don't know, something in, I feel like it's almost genetic, because like her sister is also really good at games. Her mom, when her mom understands the game, her mom's pretty good at games. Like we played Wingspan I taught my mother-in-law Wingspan on Christmas Day. Because a whole story, like my father-in-law had the flu, and so he was at home sick, and so my mother-in-law just came to our house on Christmas, and that same sister and husband came over, and like their kids came over. We played Wingspan, and my mother-in-law won. Like,
nice. Interesting.
Like, I don't know. It's something like genetic, like in their family. So we'll see if my kids get that. It seems to be like the women get it. Like it's like
yeah.
So we'll see if my daughters have that killer instinct when it comes to games.
Huh.
All that said, yes, I'm going to lose, but it's not, like I said, it's not about winning and losing, but like almost the almost like feudal feeling of it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that feeling of like, doesn't matter how hard you try, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I like at least the illusion of that I have a chance to win.
Like the point of no return has already happened, and you've realized that, and you're like,
so it's just the trudge to the end.
yeah. Do you think your wife would agree with you on which of those two is the better game?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe it's for the next episode of this.
I'll text her and let's keep talking, and I'll find out.
Okay. What I was going to say earlier, though, is I feel like we're going to do some of these episodes, an episode each month, as long as Questing the Multiverse is a thing. one of these type of games that we talk about, I should get, and Shiloh and I should play in October. I bet you we could rope Jeff into playing a game like this, Shiloh, especially if it's only 30 minutes. I think, you don't want to put him out for longer than...
And it can get addicting.
necessary.
Like, that's like, it's 30 minutes for one game, but it's like, it's addicting, and it's because it's like over so fast. It almost, I can't think of a time when we didn't play it when it wasn't like, hey, we have just like a super tight time window where we haven't been like, you don't want to play one more?
Have you
Like,
done
it's
more
got-
than one then in a night?
Pretty much every time we open the box, we do
Okay.
more than one in a night. Because it's got that, like, it's like, because it's 30 minutes, it's,
Yeah.
if you have the time, it's almost like that, like, oh man, that was fun, I want to do it again. Which is why I still give both of them high ratings, because they both have that factor. And like, it's been the same thing going through My City again with other people, where it's just like, we finish the game and like everyone, like, before starting to clean up pieces, like, we all kind of look at each other like, want to do one more? Okay, yeah, then we just reset it and we go again.
Yeah. That's fair.
So it's got that factor to it, which is why they're still like above average ratings for both games. For me.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I did want to bring back another old callback to the No Cube Zone. I'm sure you remember where I'm maybe going with this.
1-star
I used to go-
reviews.
The 1-star reviews on VGG, one of my favorite things. So, Shiloh, I don't know if you ever listened to the No Cube Zone, but we would always go to Board Game Geek and look up they have like a 0 out of 10 rating scale on BGG, and so people can just leave reviews. And so we would always go read a 1-star review for the game we just talked about, just to see what is the worst possible thing that someone could say. So My City, starting with that one. Let's see. This one person said, only played the Legacy campaign, which I enjoyed so much, I can't even consider playing the following game.
And they
So
gave
you
it
played
a
it
1
once.
star?
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
One of the most frustrating game experiences I've ever had. Ugh, barely made it through the first chapter. And then this other person who wrote it in Swedish. So I had to go to Google Translate for this. It says, incredibly bad product. Crashes all the time. I would rather play Teddy Bear's Honey Hunt. When you start the game, the graphics and sound are very bad very quickly. It's like listening to a recording from the 20th century. I don't recommend this product. It's a scam. They said you don't get a disc, but got a scam code. This game got mine interested, but it was a scam. My son got nightmares from this game. Don't buy it. My son is 22.
Is this a Baldur's Gate 3 1-star review then? On
This
Board Game Geek for
Sounds
some
like it.
reason? How does that even relate? I wish
I
you
don't
could
know,
leave
but
comments
it's
on
there.
reviews.
It is there as their 22-year-old son got nightmares from my city, I guess.
That guy should never be a city planner then. that
guess
career
not.
path is closed to them.
Yeah, or ever played
Don't
Tetris.
manifest your destiny, friend.
Yeah, your destiny will not be manifested.
And then
How do you
my
even
island-
make that mistake of like putting that
I
review
don't
there?
know. I don't know. In Swedish, full paragraph in Swedish.
It's like Google Translate's not that bad, you know?
I mean, I'm sure there's some inaccuracies in
Sure.
Google Translate.
Goodness.
This is a small tangent, then we'll get to the 1-star from my island. But on the Google's version of Zoom,
Okay.
whatever that is, like, so during the pandemic, we had like friends that we would hang out with. We had like a group of friends we would like get together with on Sunday nights and have dinner. And so when the pandemic happened and we were all locked down, so we all got on that. Because everyone's like, oh, let's get on like a group chat thing or whatever. Well, one night we were sitting there and some friends of ours were just like giggling to each other, and we're like, "What's so funny?" Because we're just like talking, like, and they just kept giggling, and they're like, they had the generative like closed captions on, and Google's closed captions weren't very good to where it would predict that people were like swearing, and so it would just be like you have like random like curse words in there when they didn't say a curse word.
Bad guy.
And so then naturally we all turned it on, and we're like,
Yeah.
and then all just laughing at whatever. So fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
Anyways, the 1-star review for My Island, there's just one. It says, tedious and flawed. The story is so outrageous, it's just not enjoyable. Cash grab would be a good description.
Not always
right.
like that. What, that game can't cost more than like $40, right?
Person just had a bad time. Yeah, they're not bad.
If I were to leave a 1-star review, it'd just be my island was not unique. That would just be it. And that would be like, it's fair.
That's a fair
Fair
assessment.
assessment. I mean, it's
On
sad,
the-
but, you know.
On the website for the publisher, it's $39.95 for My City or My Island. Excuse me.
Cash grab. That's a cash grab, Jordan. Apparently.
My City is $34.95, so My Island or My City is $5 cheaper. Now these games are made by Thames and Cosmos, who did the adventure game series.
Yep.
Do you remember that adventure game we did on
I
the No Cube Zone?
own the Monochrome Inc. I believe, and I haven't beaten it, but
The
fact
dungeon.
that-
We did the dungeon, right?
The Legends of Andor game is Cosmos as well, I believe.
Is it?
I just looked it up on Amazon, yeah.
You could get one of those, Conniff, for your video game thing. That might play well.
which one? The adventure game or
One of those adventure games. That was fun. There's the
Ooh, that's
volcanic
actually a really
island.
good idea because it uses
$20.
that app. Yeah, they're cheap too. Maybe I'll just play Monochrome Inc. And actually, yeah, those are kind of like RPG light.
Yeah,
Very light.
Just a thought. I mean, I like My Island and My City. I did get a text back. She said maybe My City, but it might just because we were playing it with 4 people. Not
And
that
I'm
it's
tired
not
of beating you. And
fun with
Yeah, you scrub.
not that it's fun, not fun with just you, but it's just
good.
different.
GIT. GUD.
She said My City, My Island is a little less challenging, and My City
interesting.
felt a little bit harder to her.
Okay.
So if you want a little bit more of a brain stretch, I guess My City, according to Caitlin Hopper.
Fascinating. Well, either or. I mean, it looks like I like the look of the map and the tiles. What you showed me on City, and there were only 4 cubes in that one, and not the apple joke or whatever it was.
An orchard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's obviously a very superficial thing, but I do like the look and the design of My City just on this initial
Or do you like
offering.
the one with less cubes? You don't have to.
There's the hex. The hexes give me Castles of Burgundy flashbacks, and it's which I do apparently still owe you a game. In fact,
You do.
when we first had this idea to reintroduce board game episodes, I mean, Questing the Multiverse is about, as you said, rifts opening and just exploring what comes. The night that we kind of had that discussion, I went and I listened to, I think it was the episode in which we talked about, I don't remember the game specifically, but it was the episode we talked about that meetup that Eric and I did in somewhere north Missouri with one of our online friends. There was catfish, and you told me I should have left the waitresses the Flip City game as like here, learn
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But we're listening to that, and it was, I think you mentioned something on that I owed you a Castles of Burgundy play for your birthday or something. So
It's true.
when's
Are
your
you
birthday?
going to come back to Omaha, or is that just...
Oh, eventually,
is
sure. Nah, Dream's not dead. Not at all. Someday.
someday?
Omaha may as well be the board game capital of the U.S. I know people have their own opinions, but I've seen the collections that some people have there. And Shiloh's talking, bookshelves of games. Try literal walls of bookshelves of games. And that's some of these people's board game
Michelle's
collections.
basement?
Yeah, Michelle's basement. That's the one we're talking about. Let's be honest. I mean, even Clef, he just has his broken up in different ways.
Clef's got quite a few games down there. But
And Jake, too.
Jake's got quite a few, yeah.
In fact,
But
the quote in the YouTube version of this episode, there's a quote at the beginning of each episode and then at the end. The quote is from Jake, and it's, "The dice taketh, and the dice giveth, and the dice taketh."
no, that's not the quote.
What was, okay, well then I'll go correct the...
The quote was, "Ameritrash giveth, Ameritrash
Oh, I
taketh
thought it
away."
was specific about dice.
Nope.
Well, I better go change
What were
that.
we playing that? What was the game we played? In
Wasn't
Michelle's
it,
basement.
well, you guys played Soul, I think, right? Is that what it was?
No, this was during Lords of Vegas, which you played,
Oh, it
and
was.
Andy England hated because
He hated that game. He did.
because he had some bad luck. Like it broke bad on him.
Yeah.
But again, like Jake said, that's the game. Ameritrash giveth and Ameritrash taketh away. And for that game, for Andy England, Ameritrash took it hard.
Yeah.
It took out some pent up rage on poor Andy. And I feel bad because I feel like if he would have had a normal game, we would have had another Lords of Vegas fan.
Nope. He got screwed big time, so.
Hard. It was so bad. It was like, because that's kind of the game. It was like, I laughed a little bit, but I did feel bad for Andy because I like Andy.
Yeah. He's a good guy. So at some point, I'll narrow down what I want to bring Shiloh, and we'll figure it out. But I mean, we're not there to just play board games. But the interesting thing about this is that nobody that's going wants to play video games at all. It's like, I mean, that we do. That's how we know and interact with each other now. We may as well do something else. And in my opinion, board games is kind of that perfect offering. So be curious to see what a bunch of video game nerds do with board
And
games.
maybe the ship has probably sailed for this year for Punchboard Paradise as their con, which is kind of like the spiritual successor to ATB Con.
Yeah.
So I don't think ATB Con's coming back.
No, I think that's...
Ryan, if you hear that, I'm a doubter.
I'm 100% a doubter too. No offense, Ryan, but that show was... it served its purpose for a while.
I mean, but they even said we want to do the con after the show's gone, and right now both are
Very
DOA.
busy. Yeah. Very busy.
But Punchboard Paradise has their con, which is kind of like the spiritual successor. But so next year, 2025, should see if we could get both of you up here for that.
Yeah, Shaw, you want to play board games for a weekend?
Yeah. Why not?
He's probably like, it sure beats
Arousing,
anything
yeah.
else.
Why not?
If nothing else, they could probably
I mean, we can
You
bring
go to the Omaha Zoo.
sell tables. Yeah.
You could sell some tables. I mean, we can bring a TV and an Xbox. If you want to just be like, I'm done with you nerds.
No, I'm good.
Actually, that's not a bad idea if you came as like a
Vendor.
vendor. I mean, you obviously can't bring a table. Maybe a coffee table. I don't know if those
could.
come
I
apart.
mean, I could.
I mean,
If I
U-Haul
drove.
rents trucks.
Yeah.
It'd be so much work. I'm gonna bring my table here.
Well,
We
here,
play on this table.
here's the thing. I'll try and have my basement done, so then the table that I buy from you,
Yeah,
we can just drive up here. That can be like the show off one, and then I'll bring it to my house after the con.
There you go.
there you go.
And that's like my table. So then I get people to come play with me, and I get to stroke my ego for a little bit of, hey, look, people want to play games with me because I have the fancy table. Shiloh can sell some other tables.
And we all make it rich
Perfect.
somehow.
And it's
money.
It's either this
Profit.
game is the table is either Lords of Vegas or Castles of Burgundy. That's all that gets played at this table.
I can't. I've got standards. I've got standards. Shiloh, I don't think you would like Castles of Burgundy.
He might like the new one. Have you seen that new, like the uber fancy one?
Yeah, didn't everybody complain about that because it was it was too overproduced or something?
I mean, it's expensive, and I don't have that kind of money.
Oh,
because
then I don't know which one I'm
the
thinking.
one I bought for $18 off Amazon works just fine.
That's fair. Well,
Let's see. Castle of Burgundy Special Edition. Yeah. Right now on Game Nerds, it is $179.97.
are the wooden cubes like
It's
zebra wood or something? I don't. What's going on with this? Is zebra wood expensive? I don't even know. Sounds expensive. Sounds exotic.
Let's just make stuff up.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Hold on.
All I know is that I have spent a lot of money on board games before. And
I mean, that's like half an Everdell. Like, what do you...
but the decision making on that is
What are you falling out of
usually
your
the
chair for?
theme. So
Yeah, zebra wood's very expensive. $28, almost $29 a foot.
An ounce?
No, per board.
I didn't know where you were going with that. So ounce is just the first unit of measurement that came to my
ounce
mind.
of wood.
A gram.
This is wood, not drugs. You know, my goodness.
You know,
Interesting.
you got a dime bag of zebra wood?
Shiloh's a illegal zebra wood dealer.
Look at some of the pictures of this here game.
Oh, the Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah, I put it in the Discord.
I have everything
Shot.
turned off. It's my podcasting way. I turn off all that stuff.
Well, turn it on.
I can't.
Turn
I'll look
that
at
thing
it
back
later.
on.
And in fact,
quote,
to
quote
segue.
Sergeant from the Toy Story movies, little when they're doing the birthday party thing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the mom, turn that thing back on.
To segue, if you join our Discord listener, Questing the Multiverse, the link is in the episode links on each episode, YouTube, Spotify, wherever. We end up, when we have stuff like this, we put it in the channel for Questing the Multiverse links, so you can go and see it yourself, should you so choose.
Amazon's selling it for $209, but apparently it comes with the stretch
much.
goals.
Too much for Castles of Burgundy. And the episode is coming to an end, and this is how Jordan tries to extend it by bringing that Castles of Burgundy vitriol into the episode.
Vitriol? Wow.
Such a wonderful game that is.
Listen, you've put me fully in charge of the No Cube Zone, so
It's true.
I mean, we can talk about Castles of Burgundy anytime we want. Like, that can be the game next month is Castles of Burgundy.
I don't want to put
And
Shiloh
then
to
the
sleep.
month after that is going to be Lords of Vegas. Then I'll find something, just some cube riddled mess that we'll talk about the next month. Like, it's going to be great.
Maybe it was a mistake giving you the reins to No Cube Zone.
What's done is done. You can't put the toothpaste back into the
You
tube now.
can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That is fair. Well, it is coming to an end for this episode. Do you have any final thoughts, final things, Jordan, that you would like to...
No, I'm super excited to be back doing this in a limited capacity. Would love to I can play Shiloh's part on a video game episode sometime where I just sit there and I'm like, yeah. This sounds like cool stuff you guys are talking about.
Yeah, those mouse clickings and the jumping with the space bar. No, you have a Switch, so you're not completely.
I have a Switch and a PS4, and I'm probably going to end up buying a next-gen console to get the college football game when that comes out this summer, because I like how the sports ball.
The sports ball.
Specifically, the NCAA games were always pretty good. Oftentimes better than the Maddens from the same year. So
I cannot wait to find, like, my favorite thing was to pick like just some dog water school and
like
then
the Navy.
just like, yeah, like it's funny because historically, like the Navy were like, they have like a bunch of national championships in football. Them and the Army Academy. But yeah, more recently, because those guys are busy, you know, defending our country, they don't spend all their time practicing football. So they're not quite as good as the kids who just, you know, play football all the time.
Their strengths are in a bit of different things.
They're a little more diversified in what they're spending their time on. All for it. Anyways, yeah, like just some like little like New Mexico State or Idaho State or someone like that. And so you take them, and then you really test and see how good you are, because you crank the difficulty up. You take this like I said, dog water team, and eventually you turn them into like a national powerhouse.
Legends.
Like I remember one time, I think I was University of Idaho. Not really well known for their football, and I think like my first game with them, I threw like 5 interceptions. It was not good, but you know what? Bye, Joe. We got some better recruits and turned that thing around.
You did it. Now, if only they need to contact you in real life, then turn their franchise around, I suppose.
I don't think it works though.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I know nothing about football. Is what I pretend. So, well,
and I'd probably need a new console to play Grand Theft Auto 6 when that comes out in 2 years, whenever that is.
Yes, that's actually coming out for real this time. it's real.
Same with the college football. The college football game has been gone.
That's true.
For a decade.
Yeah. The last one I remember was 2012, 2013 or so.
2014 was the last one. And the funny thing is, I saw what they're because it was all about like the players' like name, image, and likeness, which all this NIL stuff. Do you know what they get?
What? How much?
$600 and a copy of the game.
Now?
Yes.
Like that's what they landed. They've spent 10 years all upset.
We didn't have one of the greatest sports games on the planet for a decade.
And they settled.
$600 a player and a copy of the game.
Wow.
It's a lot of players, though.
That's true.
Yeah, they just chalk it up to NIL
Madden,
money
though?
at this point.
Madden, those are all professionals, and it's part of their collective bargaining agreement with the players' union.
Oh yeah, we obviously don't have that for college. That's
Not
fascinating.
yet. We're headed that way.
Yeah. Now you just have to deal with each individual college player. Transfer
until it turns. Basically, they're going to turn college into like minor leagues for the pros.
Yeah, no, it'll just be 5 colleges. It'll be Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and LSU.
No, I don't think we're going to go with that. Like we'll have
maybe 10.
No, we'll have
maybe
30,
10 colleges.
30 some.
It'll be the NFL, but college.
It's going to be
32 teams.
I mean, it's going to turn into the Big Ten and the SEC. I think those are going to be like the AFC and the NFC.
Oh yeah. Maybe
we're already headed there.
Conference.
But my favorite team's in one of those 2 conferences, so we're good. I don't care.
I could not care less about college sports. So On that note, I'm going to ring this episode out for the year.
For the year.
The episode.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you in 2025.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, listener, for hanging out for an hour and roughly an hour and a half of your time. We appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed this board game look. There will be more. I love board games. Jordan loves board games. Shyla will learn to love board games. And the rest is history, as they say.
You will like it, and you will like liking it, Shiloh.
Okay.
The beatings will continue until morale improves. So,
Well, please.
peace.
Adios. Questing the Multiverse is brought to you in part by Conniff Productions, House Wood Designs, and Joel Crawford. To follow along with our adventures, please follow us on Twitter at QTM Podcast and consider joining our Discord, the link of which can be found in the show notes or in our Twitter bio. Want your questions or comments read on the show? Email us at questingthemultiverse@gmail.com. Finally, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a review or a follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for listening.